All right, we are going.
Okay, welcome everyone. Should we go ahead and get started? It looks like we're streaming.
Yep.
So hi everyone, I'm Cindy Conrad and I am guest co-facilitating with Jessica Andrade tonight. Excuse me. So welcome to the Inclusivity Committee meeting. Jessica?
Sorry, are we recording, Chris? Oh, we are? Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, so let's start off with attendance. I see President Maeve Dempsey, Chris McMorrin, Chris Workman. Oh, there's the recording thing. Jessica Andrade, and was Teresa here? Chris, is Teresa here?
Yes, but she ran home.
Oh, okay. Ooh. And I just see Mayor Chaz Jones and Rose just joined. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just real quick on the technical side. Nobody else was at City Hall, so she decided to go home and do the meeting from home. And so I'm just going to get this started, get it up and going, and then I've got to take off too. So nobody's here at City Hall. It'll just be an all virtual meeting tonight.
Okay, sounds great. So let's start with the approval of minutes. Am I correct in seeing that we only have the January 25th, 2022 minutes in the packet, or did I miss something?
Nope, that's correct. The other minutes, that's on me. I just have not gotten to them yet, so they will be there for you for next month. I apologize.
Thank you, Chris. Life is bananas. Minutes will come. Yeah, so I just want to check with everyone and see if anybody has any corrections or additions to the January 25th meeting minutes, and if we can make those corrections or additions and get that approved.
You just asked if there's general consensus to approve the minutes as presented.
Sounds good. Is there general consensus to approve the minutes as presented? All right, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Sounds great, thank you.
Yeah, I'm seeing general consensus. All right, thank you, everyone. So our main point of business on the agenda today is continued discussion of the committee objectives and vision. We have in our packet as a starting place draft of our inclusivity goals and objectives. And we have the issue and background. And then we have some attached ideas for the objectives and ways we can frame them. So our action item is to have an agreed upon final document outlining our committee's objectives and goals so that we can make a formal recommendation for approval to the City Council. So let's turn to that point in the packet and talk about the goals and objectives of the committee. And maybe we can start by taking a look at the document that says at the very top, Equity and Inclusion Committee, striving for a more diverse and just Philomath. And then it's got our mission statement and a numbered list of possible objectives. So this is a document that Jessica put together from the suggestions and ideas that were raised at past meetings. And so we could use this as a beginning point for our conversations. I see frowny faces. Do you see where we're at in the packet? Okay. All right. It's on, shoot. It says proposed mission statement / objectives / goals 1 on the very bottom.
It should be the one right after the agenda item summary. And most of it is taken from what Rose and Teresa had come up with at a previous meeting. And then just kind of giving examples of what that could look like. And I'll also point out, if people weren't able to check their emails beforehand, Van sent out information, his thoughts on things. So just so that everyone's aware and able to take a look at that and give input on it. Thanks, Cindy.
So I have a question. Have we approved this mission statement already, or are we talking about the mission statement tonight too?
The mission statement was approved by the committee to suggest to recommend to council, but we were waiting to take that mission statement once we had the goals and objectives, just so that it was a complete package and more that there's context to it.
That's helpful. Thanks, Jessica.
Are there any specific thoughts that people have regarding this document, or is there something else that we should be looking at, some other kind of structure, or like, does anyone have thoughts about it? And welcome, Zena and Teresa.
Oh, beautiful.
Hello.
Let me just make sure I'm not missing something before I speak. I think the only, like, I love this, what you typed up. I think it summarizes a lot of what we talked about really well. The only thing that maybe we should add to the examples of objectives and practice part would be to, I'm really big on the idea of doing like the periodic like reevaluation of like city policies, like not waiting for the city council to give us something, but just like every 5 years or something, going through like the whole city code and thinking about, you know, or the whole like city council policies or whatever, and just like going through that and figuring out what might be a barrier. Because I think the problem with where a lot of barriers come up is not through new policies, but it's just through like things that we've always done that we don't really, it's second nature, you know, oh yeah, this is how you apply for that, or this is how you do that, and we don't think through if there's any problems there. So that would be my big thing, is like setting sort of a schedule, if that's like every 3 years, every 5 years, whatever. You don't want to, you know, if we're not going to do it every year, because then that's just not sustainable. But just something like that. I think that would be my big recommendation, but otherwise I think the rest of it looks great.
I see snaps from Maeve on that. Yeah, I like that as well, Christopher. And I wonder if we can just say like a periodic review of city, you know, policy, so that as the committee grows, like that can kind of come up. It can be something that changes over time if need be, you know, or maybe 1 year this piece gets reviewed and another year this piece gets reviewed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I guess my only thing is I do want us to put a timeline on it at some point, so we're not just like a periodic review and then like, you know, 10 years from now someone's like, hey, did we ever make that happen? So but yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. Like, you know, maybe 1 year we do the city charter, 1 year we do city, you know, ordinances, 1 year we do council policy, something like that. I don't know.
A review schedule forthcoming.
Ms. Nielsen, you look like you have something.
I do, if that's okay. I'm like, oh, trying to adjust to my little mini outdoor office. You know, having Jessica will attest to this as well. There, some policies and council rules and other things. I think your idea of one at a time, like 1 year we'll do this, and then the next. Because taking on more than what we can be really successful and effective on would just be detrimental in the long run. We would just be spinning our wheels. Where if we can do an effective job, like council rules one year, and then the following year we'll address other statutes and policies and nonprofits and all the other social service things. But I do feel somewhat that a schedule would be really helpful. I just don't want to have it be so much that it becomes overwhelming that we can't do a thorough job and a complete job with that. I think that would be much more effective, from my opinion, as you know, as a city councilor, to get a really thorough job on those things and take time to really discuss it and kind of get it all out there so that we really can make an effective difference.
I like that idea as well. I agree that doing the job thoroughly is super important. And I also want to make sure that this committee is not like sort of like that this committee isn't setting itself up to only be doing that type of work for a certain amount of time. If we try and like tackle all of it, I think it would take like several months of meetings to go through all of it. And so I do like the idea of a schedule. I mean, in terms of council rules and all of that, like we would obviously, I think, need Jim Brewer to be on board for that, because I think some of those are like fairly specifically codified in certain ways. And apart from those, I think going into like building permits one time or zoning one time or whatever the breakdown makes most sense, I think that would be a better use of our collective time, so that we aren't then stuck watching as like opportunities pass us by.
So I'm seeing consensus, I think, on adding a point to our objectives of reviewing city council policy and procedure, you know, and breaking it down on, you know, to focus on a topic a year or something like that. Zena, did you want to add something? Okay, just check in.
I guess I just feel like I think that there's a point to, yes, having some kind of schedule and figuring it out, but if we do not actually effectively create more change, I don't feel like, I don't know. I just think that's not actually very effective for actually creating the change. And I'm just speaking as for myself. I would like to see more things get done.
I agree on that, Zena. Jessica, you look like you wanted to add something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I appreciate that. I agree. And that I think this is just one of those first steps looking inward to try to look at that systemic issue, to make sure we got like our own stuff decent before looking outward a bit. And I guess I was just going to, oh, and I love that idea. I forgot to put that periodic review. I know we had talked about it before. So I'm taking notes on this. Are there things regarding these like initial points also? I guess the main questions that I have based on like how I kind of put this together was those numbered points, the kind of like initial goals. Do those look okay, or is there like something we should be removing or adding? And then with regards to the examples of objectives in practice, those were just examples that I could think of that I thought were important, but I definitely did not go in and like add other people's things or their ideas as much because I didn't even know if people would like this. So yeah, anyway, I don't know if that'd be helpful.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to jump off here real quick, but I just wanted to offer, and so Jessica, when I saw the examples of objectives in practice, I thought that it was a great starting point. Just in my work with tribes, I saw that kind of a pretty strong emphasis on tribes, and a lot of tribes have a pretty significant concern about working with city governments because they consider themselves sovereign nations and feel in some ways perceive that they don't want to engage with cities because they're a lesser form of government, and that's something to be strongly aware of. It's a pretty big issue that anyway, I'll just leave it at that for now. Laura John's great. I know I was hanging out with her all week last week, but I don't know that. Yeah, I think that creating a liaison between a city and a tribal government is not appropriate. And I wouldn't personally feel comfortable approaching the tribes with that idea. But I think that continuing to engage them is really important. But there's just some sensitivities there that I think that everybody should be aware of. But I do appreciate the thoughts there, and I think the intention is right on. There's just a lot of sensitivity there that we should be aware of. And yeah, and I would love to see some a lot, celebrating diversity in Philomath. I love the idea of this Pride celebration that's coming up next week, and doing more community events. But I do think that Zena's right on, that we should really be thinking about some of these things that are impactful. I think that it's entirely acceptable to take small steps towards goals, but I think it's important to be making those small steps continuously so that we end up getting somewhere that we want to be. But I think that we have to do that with intention. But yeah, I think that all of our goals are to have meaningful change. And what are the small steps that we can do to start moving in the right direction? So anyhow, I really appreciate all of you and appreciate you guys being able to spend time on this. I am really sorry that we are having a birthday party tonight and that I have to go to do that with my wife, but I'm sure you all understand. But I appreciate you all being here, and I'm gonna have to jump off, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Chaz. Zena, you had your hand raised?
No, I'm good.
Okay, just holler if you want to jump back in. I have mixed feelings about what Mayor Jones just said about the tribes as an example. I don't know if that should be like where that should be on the committee's priorities. But I think any working with the tribes, I would like to see us open to that, and that be based on a case by case basis if there's a relationship there. And I think there is more ways to interact than government to government. Like there's more ways of being in community that are not, like government to government negotiations. Zena?
Okay, just to address what was said previously. First, I don't feel like they are a lesser form of government, and it is an integral part that we do work with tribes. And yes, we don't have the best track record here in Philomath with connecting with tribal leaders or just indigenous populations or people of color, but I think that needs to really change. I just went to the Black Rural Networking Summit in Pendleton, and it was amazing. And to connect again with people in the tribe and people of color. So I understand where Mayor Jones is coming from, but I also feel like, yes, there needs to be sensitivity, but it really needs to be handled. We are one community, and to kind of say, oh, this is too delicate, I just can't really get with that right now. So yeah, that's how I feel.
And I'm sorry, can I just jump in really fast? I do have to go. But I was not saying that tribes are less a form of government at all. I was saying that the cities are have a much lower status than a tribal nation does. So that's where I was getting at. And I am fully in support of working more closely with tribes. I was just stating simply that having a tribal liaison between a city and a sovereign nation is probably not as appropriate. But I'm really apologize. I can't participate in this conversation much more. But I'm super supportive of the idea of working with tribes, just not on a nation, just not on a certain level. But this is my life. This is my livelihood in the world I live in every day. So I have a lot of idiosyncrasy in the understanding of this kind of relationship, but it's something I can't really express right now. But anyway, I'm fully in support of working with tribes. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Jones, for clarifying that. Go to your party. We don't want your wife mad at us. We'll talk more about it. Chris, you want to jump in with something?
I mean, yeah, I guess since we're on the topic of the tribes, I don't know if I'm going to say that much new stuff, but I mean, I think my perspective is to just leave it up to them, just make sure they're aware that we are more than happy to be engaged in any way that they would like. But I do completely understand what Mayor Jones is saying, and I know just from my perspective working in state government, like it's even limited what state governments do with tribes. It usually always has to go through the federal government, and the state has like a whole like procedure of treating them like a foreign nation and everything, and they're partner government and everything, so it does get a little tricky. But I totally understand what the mayor's saying, and I think that's a very important perspective we hadn't considered yet. But that being said, I think, yeah, we should do everything we can do to just be open. But it's up to them sort of what they feel comfortable interacting with on a governmental plane.
Thank you, Christopher. Jessica, and then Maeve.
Yeah, thank you. I agree that it's something delicate to, make sure that we're careful about our words when approaching tribes to see if they would be interested in working with us in some way. I just wanted to clarify that the reason why I had suggested a liaison was because in the League of Oregon Cities Women's Caucus, we had Laura come speak to us and like kind of give a mini workshop seminar of sorts, and had kind of suggested that liaison it was kind of like in support of that. And so that's the only reason why I brought it up. But I agree, let the tribes decide.
Eve? Thank you, Jessica.
So yeah, on that note, I guess I have like an idea. Once we get our mission statement and our goals hashed out, what if we send out like an introductory letter to the tribes, to like the NAACP chapter here locally, to like all of these different like groups and organizations, and just say like, hey, here we are, this is how we're set up. If there's a way that we can be of service, reach out. If there's something that in our community that needs to be addressed that we're not addressing, let us know, and we can do that. And that way it's not about us without us, and it's more like driven by those groups rather than us saying like, we see this thing and we're going to do it for you.
Thank you, Maeve. I appreciate that. Teresa?
Yeah, and in building on what Maeve just said, the second point in the document I'm looking at on page 1, a proposed mission statement and objectives, it talks about the second point is about knowledge building opportunities. I think combining what Maeve just said with an opportunity for city leadership and our community to have knowledge building opportunities through individuals and organizations that we could learn a lot from, I think would be really invaluable. And that is an untapped, I think, basically really quite an untapped, valuable resource that we have not utilized as of yet. And that would be, I love that second point about knowledge building opportunities, because I think in gaining knowledge and incorporating those knowledge, after knowledge, and the action comes to act upon our knowledge, and the requirement to, once having that knowledge, then the responsibility to act upon it. I think that's when we see change. So I think that's good. I do have a question though about the third point, if I may. It says offering opportunities for cultural exchange and space for conversations while prioritizing accessibility. Could someone clarify that statement for me so I have a better understanding of what that's inferring in regards to while prioritizing accessibility?
I can tell you what I was thinking. I don't remember what the initial wording was, so I don't know how much of it was mine versus like what you and Rose had come up with. But it was just making sure that prioritizing accessibility, meaning like this, being able to have a virtual space, potentially if it's like a meeting, or, you know, if we're going to have an event somewhere, making sure that it's accessible to people with disabilities who might have issues walking or needing to use a wheelchair or something like that. Making sure that we're able to have an interpreter or of some kind if someone needs it, those kinds of things. It probably is worded weirdly, so.
It's a prioritized word. As a language arts person and educator, prioritizing has a different connotation and denotation that maybe we don't want to have in an inclusivity type document. While facilitating accessibility, or I think prioritizing has that connotation of exclusivity, which we maybe might want to consider avoiding if we could, but that's just my writing as far as
ensuring accessibility.
Thank you, Teresa. Christopher, did you say while ensuring accessibility?
That's what I said. I'm not married to that, but
Suggestion.
yeah.
Okay, Maeve?
Yeah, I mean, I realize that prioritizing means like really to place it at the fore. And I guess like why wouldn't we prioritize accessibility? if accessibility is making it more able for a wide audience to be able to engage with the material, why would we not want to prioritize that?
Yeah, I can see that too, because I think like accessibility for people with disabilities is a piece of that, can be a piece of that broader accessibility, but also, you know, a space that feels safe to people or safer to people of multiple backgrounds, or, you know, that like honors people's traditions, or, you know, it could mean a lot of things. Zena?
So part of me is loving this conversation, but another part of me is saying that we could argue about semantics for years, and I believe that we have. And I feel like we need to move on and actually make progress moving forward.
Thanks, Zena, for reminding us of that. Yeah, so maybe then our recommendation is just to take a second look when you know, before we send this over, at the wording of that. Zena, did you have something
Oh no,
else?
we just didn't lower for some reason.
No worries. I did have a question about point number 5 on that list, about creating a core group of individuals dedicated to doing the work and collectively sharing their expertise gleaned from their unique lived experiences. I really appreciated the piece about, you know, like making space for people to share their unique lived experiences. But the piece about creating a core group of individuals dedicated to doing the work didn't really sit well with me, because I kind of see the purpose of this committee as like calling everybody in to do the work, and not just creating a group, you know, or making this committee the group of people who are responsible for that. Like, to me, I think a purpose of this committee is to hold city council responsible for that, and to create that, you know, or like contribute to the atmosphere in our whole community. I don't know what others thought about that point, but it just didn't sit right with me.
If I can say something, I kind of agree with Cindy. I think there has to be some fluidity to this group, so that we are, although there's a lot of work to be done, we have to allow a variety of voices to have input into, and it feels constricting, creating a core group of individuals dedicated to doing the work. It feels very, I don't know, not as welcoming, I guess, as I would like our piece to be. And I think we can still have doing the work and collectively sharing expertise. I think that's very helpful. I just worry about the restrictions of the core group of individuals doing the work. I think that doesn't sound like what would be conducive for an inclusivity committee.
Zena, I saw your hand a bit ago. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Nah, I think I've said what I've been saying for a while now, and I just feel like I don't know, like there's no one actually listening, or actually, you know, I just feel very frustrated. And again, I think that it's great that we're looking at, you know, we're having discussions about, you know, but I feel like, again, we get really hung up on the semantics of things, and the use of vocabulary, when we really just need to start doing the work. And that's the last time I'll say that, I guess.
Thank you, Zena. I think I just wanted to make space quick before we go on to Christopher and then Jessica. to share if there's, and I know you've talked about this before, wanting us to do the work, so I don't want to like make you belabor the point, but if there's specific things you'd like to see us do, like specific action steps that you want to see us like set off towards. Does that make sense?
It does. And I feel like we wrote up our inclusivity draft. We kind of had this talk. It's been a long time. And I guess I'm hoping that people in this group continue to like look inwards, but also reach out to other people in their community and start doing the work. I mean, again, I'm like one person, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we had an idea, we had momentum, and then we stop. And it's like, I don't want to assign homework, but we need to be doing things outside of this meeting. I'm just one person, and I'm very tired. I don't know if that made sense, Cindy.
It did. Thank you, Zena. Christopher and then Jessica.
I guess two things. The first is I mean, I think we all to some degree share those frustrations, but I guess I'm a little confused because I thought we all agreed at our last meeting that this meeting would be dedicated to finalizing our language to submit to the city council. So I guess I'm personally okay with us talking a little bit about wording and semantics, because that's something we've been talking about for so long, and we all agreed that this meeting would be dedicated to finalizing that and sending it to the city council so that they will stop asking us what the point of this committee is. So personally, I'm good with us spending as long as we need tonight talking about words so that we don't have to talk about it again for a while. I guess that's just where I'm coming from tonight, since we kind of dedicated this meeting to that. And then I think, just to go back to the original question at hand about that number 5, I'll be happy with whatever. I don't feel super strongly either way, because I totally do hear the concerns of, the whole point of the Inclusivity Committee is that it's not just like this little deep state group of people doing things. But on the other hand, especially in small towns like this, if you don't have a group of people who is committed to actually seeing things through, it's not going to happen. We don't have a ton of paid staff. We can't hire a temporary, inclusivity coordinator to work with the city. Like, if our unpaid selves aren't doing this, it's not going to happen. So I think I understand where the intent of that came from. Sort of like, we do need to have people who are committed, sort of as Zena was saying, who are committed to, not just showing up to a meeting once a month, but who are committed to doing that work all the time, or else it's not going to happen. So I guess I'm fine with whatever we want to word that as, because I see the intent and the need on both sides. So I'm kind of neutral.
Thank you, Christopher. Jessica?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because this wasn't my word, so I can only kind of guess what the original intent was, but I believe it's more or less what Christopher said, of just like, we need to make sure that there are people dedicated to it. And I think the core group is referring to the Inclusivity Committee, but I mean, we can totally come up with more precise words of some kind to make sure that it doesn't sound like we're excluding anyone. Yeah.
Thanks, Jessica. And I think that does make sense, Jessica and Christopher. I may have been overthinking that one. Maeve?
Yeah, listening to what people have said, I'll admit that when I read this one, I just sort of was like, oh yeah, that's the thing that we have. Great, that makes sense. And listening to, I think it was like Cindy and maybe Teresa, but specifically Cindy, having the reaction that they did to that, I'm reading over it now and I'm wondering if, as Chris mentioned, there is not the core group of people that keep showing up to do this, like this committee is just over, right? Like that's the reality of it. So if we just strike number 5 entirely, do we lose anything significant?
Like we mark that one done?
No, like if we erase it.
As Jessica knows, I'm always a fan of just removing things from documents when we've been talking about them for too long. So I'd be okay with that. But like I said, I don't have strong feelings about that one in general. So I'll be happy with whatever the rest of the committee decides.
I think the one thing I would keep from that maybe I would just shift up to like number 3 would be, like providing space for people to share their unique lived experiences or something like that. Unless folks feel like that's covered by cultural exchange and space for conversation, which maybe it is, but yeah, I don't see anything else that would be lost in that, because I think it's kind of captured in the mission statement of what we're going to do. Are there other additions people would like to see made to these, or changes, or other concerns that people have of these numbered points or the lettered examples below? Chris?
Clarifying question, not necessarily. I just wanted to understand what our goal is. So is it like, is this specific document something we're going to show to the city council to be like, here's what we're doing? Or is it like, is that the goal for tonight, is like have something we can show to the city council? Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher, for clarifying that. Maeve, you look like you're going to jump in.
Yeah, I was gonna. Sort of on that note, one thing that I'm wondering is, like, as guiding principles, I think that these are great as like goals to check off. These are super hard to quantify. And so, like, I don't want to eliminate these. I think they are important to keep. And do we need to add something like Counselor Lehman's suggestion of a calendar, some like really firm, tangible items in addition to this list? I think that would be well received by city council, while also fulfilling our sort of like ethical obligation of having like a guiding document.
To clarify,
Oh.
sorry, if I could just clarify really quickly, the top part is kind of supposed to be like, the intent was for it to be kind of like a structure, and then like whatever our like concrete goals are get built off of that. But yeah, so you're on the right track.
Thanks, Jessica. Zena?
Yeah, it was my understanding that, again, this would be a living document, because as I've learned being on like the MLK Park project, it's too much to, again, like Maeve said, like put it all into words and do all that. We have to look at this as, because we are looking for inclusivity, this will change, and it should change. And so I feel like we just have to, again, say, here is our intent. This group is, to really connect with people in our community and beyond, and, allow it to be a living document and not necessarily be maybe as concrete as everyone is hoping for. That just doesn't happen in justice work. I mean, that's what I've experienced. It just, you could think about it for hundreds and hundreds of years and never, we have, and we're still working on it as a country. So.
Thanks, Dina. Yeah, I like that idea of this as a living document and also as a kind of guiding thing that we build like actionable priorities off of. Any other things in this document, or Jessica?
I'm just thinking what might be helpful. Would it be helpful to have like a Word document right now that I share on the screen, and people just like say things like goals, concrete goals that they want to see there? Or do you have another idea of how to go about like deciding like, yes, we want to do this, yes, we want to do that, no, we can strike that?
I'm not sure I fully understood what you're saying.
Well, I was just saying, I believe I have the ability to share my screen with a like Microsoft Word document. And so like, if people just started going around saying like, I think we should do this, and then like, yeah, everyone cool with that? Okay, let me type it so that we can see what we have. Or we can just do it and I don't need to share a screen and I can just type it anyway. Have us all look at it later and give me feedback over email.
Could you share the screen? I think sharing the screen might be nice to kind of get them down on writing. Would that be possible, Jessica? To type them, let us see them as we're going along, and let us set some concrete goals, since that was our purpose this evening?
Yes, I believe I can.
I think that would be helpful, but I'd like to see us work off the document we have instead of starting a new document from scratch, because I think then we're going to be way back at the beginning again, you know, and maybe we can just go through this document that we have point by point, you know, if Jessica can share it and say, are we good with this one? Okay, yeah, let's move on. You know, okay, we're good with these, and then add anything that we want to add.
Sounds good. Let me find it. Oh, no, apparently I don't have sharing capabilities.
Chris Workman, do you have ability to screen share this page that we're looking at from our, or did Chris leave?
I don't know if he can actually hear us.
I think Chris is gone. I think he had an appointment this evening with his family, I believe.
Okay. We have two Chris Workmans, but no Chris Workmans. All right. So what if we just read off point by point and we can go, okay, we're good with that?
Sounds good. And then I can just edit things here on my own and send it out later over email.
Good idea also around like accessibility wise. That's awesome.
Okay, sounds great. So the mission statement that we've already approved, the Philomath Inclusivity Committee supports our city leadership in fostering an inclusive, just, and equitable community that honors its past while creating a diverse and accessible city for future generations by. So do I see consensus that we're all still good with that statement? I see thumbs and head nods. Teresa, awesome. I see consensus in that. And then for point number 1, fostering a safe space where learning, unlearning, and sharing can occur. Are we good with that one? All right. I see consensus on that. I like that one too. I think that one's really good. I like the unlearning a lot. Okay, number 2, providing knowledge building opportunities for city leadership and the community. Nods, Teresa nods, awesome. Number 3, offering opportunities for cultural exchange and space for conversations while prioritizing accessibility. Okay, we're good on that. Do we want to change? I know we talked about changing that word prioritizing. Do we want to?
I think ensuring is a stronger word, but I kind of like, I mean, you're guaranteeing, you're ensuring that accessibility will be available. So I do kind of like the.
Okay. Would folks still feel good about that if we swapped prioritizing for ensuring accessibility?
Just as somebody that works at a disability equity center, I think that we can never ensure accessibility. I think that we do, again, we are trying to prioritize it, but yeah, you'll get into hot water if you say we're ensuring it, because that's not always going to be the case. So.
That makes sense. All right. So Teresa, would you be okay if we kept prioritizing there? Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we're good on that one. Number 4, facilitating communication between city leadership and underrepresented communities. Thumbs, head nods. All right, great. Number 5, creating a core group of individuals dedicated to doing the work and collectively sharing their expertise gleaned from their unique lived experiences. This was the one that we had some conversation about as well. Did folks want to keep this as is, delete it all together? Thumbs down for delete it all together. All right, she's out of there. So we're gonna, just to clarify, I see consensus that we're gonna remove point number 5. And then point number 6, identifying harmful actions and practices within city governance and providing potential solutions as recommendations to city leadership. I see a hand from Christopher.
I know this might be a semantics thing, but it seems sort of important. I guess my only thing is with the word harmful, because I feel like that sets like a kind of low bar. Like I feel like we should be trying to be like actively inclusive, not just making sure we're not harmful. Like, you know, if I feel like it's one thing to just not be harming people, but it's another thing to like actually be, you know, making the city as inclusive as we can be, which, and I know there's different perspectives on that, you know, maybe if we're not making it as inclusive we can be, we're inherently harming someone, but to me, it just, I think it would read better if we made it a little higher bar.
Zena?
I agree with that because, yeah, like, again, it's not enough to be, you know, you have to be an anti-racist. You really have to fight for inclusivity and you know, so I think that, yeah, I just agree with what you said.
Maeve?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think coming from like a strength-based perspective, like maybe we say identifying supportive actions and practices that the city council is doing, and then like, and providing potential solutions, I don't know, in areas of growth, or I don't know what we want to say. I haven't thought that far, but keeping it as strength-based as possible, because I don't want this committee, whether on paper or in actuality, feel like it is at odds with city council. I want it to be collaborative. And if we aren't coming both from us to city council and from city council to us from a strength-based and collaborative perspective, we aren't going to get any good work done. So I think if we can like take as many opportunities as we can to say like, yes, this is going right. This is an excellent way to look at this. This is inclusive. This is supportive, like whatever, that will get us further than saying like, yuck, I don't like this thing or whatever.
But I have my Mr. Yuck stickers all ready for this. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me, but I think it is important to be able to like, if, you know, we develop that relationship, you know, and representation of different underrepresented groups on our committee, to be able to say this thing is harmful, or we're hearing that this is harmful, what do you all think about seeing, like, identifying the effect of actions and practices within city government in providing, potential, I don't know, providing suggestions or whatever, so we can call out when things are good, but we also are able to call out when someone has shared that something is harmful. Zena?
I really like, again, that idea, Cindy, of finding a collaboration, and saying, again, yeah, it's important to find out what's not working, but I think we need to be, again, solution driven. And so I think that if we can say working with and in collaboration with the city council to, solve inclusivity and justice issues with the city of Philomath and with our connecting, neighbors, is kind of maybe what I would say instead of that is just, yeah, because harm will be done, but we gotta process it, work on it, and offer solutions, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Thank you. And I'm seeing others nodding. Christopher, did you want to jump in again?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a thought, and then I'm always like, this doesn't actually add that much to the conversation. But anyway, no, I mean, I think I'm all in on trying to be as collaborative as we can, because as we know, sometimes the city council doesn't always take things in the way that we hope on on a various array of topics. So I think doing everything we can there. And then, I mean, I think it is important to recognize that, like, we are on the same page in terms of the council created this committee because the council saw the need to do more about inclusion, and they've tasked this committee with sort of steering them in that direction. So I think sort of, like, they decided they needed public art downtown, so they created a public art committee to steer them in that direction. I think this is the same thing, where the council identified a need and then formed this group to help them fill that need. So I'm all for anything we can do to capitalize on any goodwill.
So maybe language like what Zena suggested do you remember what you said, Zena, or do you want me to recap it the best I can?
I said something like working in collaboration with the city council. I don't know, and providing like solution-based, now I forgot. Yeah. You can recap, I guess.
Yeah, I think that makes us maybe like solution-based feedback or something.
Yeah, like solution-based feedback, and through education and working with other organizations, and working with I don't know, just more voices in our community to come up with these kinds of solutions.
Jessica?
May I read that back to make sure that I think I got it correctly? So working in collaboration with the city council and providing solution-based feedback through education and working with organizations and more voices in our community. Or did you want organizations or more voices in our community or something like that, as opposed to them both?
I don't care. It doesn't, I think whatever everyone finds effective in wordage. So
sounds good. If anyone has any more feedback on that, let me know. Otherwise, looks like we're good.
Teresa, you look like you want to add something.
I was thinking about it. But we are in reality reviewing the actions and practices of city governance. I mean, yes, I love that working in collaboration. That is very critical to the, our purpose. But we also do that reviewing of actions and practices of city government. So having that be a part of that collaboration, I think, is important, because that's one of the, when we go to from this ideas to the actual objectives and goals, one of them is going to be reviewing and actions and practices and policies. So I think that would be nice to have it in that part of our initial, but maybe not.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, we talked about adding an additional goal. Christopher, I think you brought up earlier an additional goal about reviewing policy and practice. Do you want to kind of phrase that for us and we can add it in here? Or Jessica, do you have notes on that?
I guess to clarify, is it under like an actual objective, or is this supposed to be for like a numbered, like?
I mean, my suggestion was to put it as under the example of the objectives in practice would be the like periodic review. But
Because I suppose, oh, sorry.
If we want to put something about that in those numbered things, we can. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but
Okay. Yeah. I guess I could see it falling under what Zena had proposed for that last.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what my train of thought was.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the wording that you had for it, like create? Okay.
I was just add, maybe we could just add a line about yeah, so we're working in collaboration and also reviewing practices. Sorry, my dog is like, get out of there. Yeah, so does that make logical sense to just add a line of like in collaboration, and also, in collaboration with city council and and to, review policies and sorry.
What if we said providing potential collaborative solutions?
That sounds good.
To clarify,
I
sorry,
like
that. Because so strike the first part then of working in collaboration with the city council, or just because you said providing potential collaborative base.
Yeah, I thought that you could just add a line there of just like working in collaboration and working with them and reviewing this stuff together. So yeah, coming up with a solution to I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. How about instead?
Wait,
I have an idea.
Suggestion first.
Oh, yes.
Jessica, I know you've been wanting to play with the whiteboard on Zoom. Do you want to put what you have on the whiteboard for us to look at?
I don't, do we have, we might have access to a whiteboard. Let me try it.
Okay, all participants should be able to edit.
Did I do that?
No, I just did it.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was like, I didn't think I clicked on anything.
Wow, come a long way.
Well, I can copy and paste what I had, or oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh, it won't copy and paste.
Well, that's rude.
Oh, there we go. So I had started on this, working in collaboration with the city council and providing potential. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making your words bigger.
No, you're good. I'm potential. And so the reason why I was asking was because collaboration is on there twice, collaboration and collaborative. So I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, sorry, my suggestion was based off of the original text, not off of this new one.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, let me try to copy and paste that in to see what that looks like.
We could say, working with the city council in providing potential collaborative solution-based feedback through education and working with organizations and more voices in our community.
I missed what your other ones were, but I know it sounded good.
Yeah, it's just, I was just reading what you had. That basically just, I took out the collaboration. Everything else is what you have there.
Okay.
Can I chime in?
Please do.
I guess my only concern with this now is I feel like, to someone who was not at this meeting, if they read this, they would be like, what the heck does this mean? Like, I feel like we've kind of buried it in so many words that it's hard to pull out the meaning, which I know we'll do a bit in the like example portion. But it's like the solution-based feedback, like solution-based feedback on what? I guess, and maybe I'm just overcomplicating it or overthinking it. I guess that's my only concern at this point, is that like, we don't specifically say like to, you know, make more inclusive the places where we currently fall short. But maybe I'm off track. I guess that was my only issue with that.
So I was that, yeah, it's I agree. In that way, it is a little bit it doesn't quite make sense. So in pivotal collaboration, solution-based feedback through education and working with organizations. So I think that it should be solution-based feedback through education and working with organizations. But I think it should say something around justice and equity. So.
Maeve. Thank you, Zena.
Yeah, so I think we're sort of doing ourselves a little bit of a disservice here, in that we are now trying to sort of like reinvent something from scratch, where I think the original number 6 was like pretty action oriented and concise and driven. And I think like, I don't know why we need to like completely scrap that, when really it seemed like there were only like a couple issues with it.
I kind of feel that same way, Maeve. We could even do reviewing actions and practices in collaboration with city governance and providing potential solutions, whatever have we said, as recommendations. I think there's a way of, so reviewing actions and practices and providing solution-based, or
say like reviewing the actions and practices within city government and providing potential improvements.
Potential.
I like that. I like the use
Yes.
of the word reviewing, and I think potential improvements works because we kind of took out the idea here of that it was always a problem.
Right. So
the reviewing actions and practices within city governance and providing potential improvements as recommendations to city leadership.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please? I don't know if I was trying to edit things on the whiteboard, and I don't know if you can see that I'm struggling or if it's just on my end, but it's like deleting and inserting.
No, I actually know, because I'm looking at the old document, but yes. So I the wording I said was identifying, reviewing actions and practices within city governance and providing potential improvements as recommendations to city leadership.
Okay.
I like that.
So instead of solutions, it's improvements. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Um,
Thank you for that. And thank you to whoever's typing it in right now.
I guess
You're welcome.
the only thing that doesn't have is like if we want to include the specific words of like, you know, diversity, inclusion, justice, or whatever. I don't necessarily feel like we need to, because like every bullet on this list is in relating to the, you know, the original mission statement, which is about that. But so I mean, I don't know why I brought that up, since I now have said I don't think it's true, but here we are.
Yeah, I think we do state some of those things, like the education and you know, voices in the community, like some of those things are built into other points. So yeah.
Also, I just want to flag, for some reason, this language is not showing up on the live feed. It's just a white square. There's only one person watching it, but I don't know why that's not showing up.
Also, is there a way to turn off the whiteboard? Because it's making my eyes hurt.
Yes. Yeah, I'll turn off the whiteboard. And just before I do, just for anybody watching on the live stream or watching the recording later, we were wordsmithing point number 6 in the document that we've been looking at. And we did 2 versions of it: working with the city council and providing potential collaborative solution-based feedback through education, and working with organizations and more voices in our community. And then we decided to go back to the original point that we had on the document, and we edited that to say, reviewing actions and practices in collaboration with city governance and providing potential improvements as recommendations to city leadership.
One thing, I think this seems like a little bit of a mix of the two. I think the one I suggested was just reviewing actions and practices within city governance and providing potential improvements as recommendations. It didn't have the in collaboration with, because then we're providing the recommendations to city leadership. Not that that's how we have to do it. I think that was the actual language that I proposed. Oh, I guess, can I edit that? Should I? I don't want to step on toes. Oh no, what do I do?
Go, Chris, go.
Now I just made a new text box.
Here, I think I figured out how to do it. Hold on. And then I'll turn off this whiteboard. Oh, no, I've lost the ability. Jessica, would you be able to just copy that into your notes?
Yeah, I got it. And then did we want this specific one, the reviewing to leadership, or did we want to change the collaboration with to within, since we're providing recommendations like Christopher pointed out? I'm fine with either. I kind of like the within because it sounds better, but I mean, I don't mind.
I also think it's a little more accurate to what we're doing. Like we probably won't be reviewing the actions and practices in collaboration with like the city council. We're going to do that here. We're going to, you know, evaluate the practices within city government here, and then we will give it to the city council or the city manager to act on the recommendations. But yeah.
Sorry,
Right.
are we still using the whiteboard at all?
I was just
Because
about
there's
to close
nothing,
it.
there's nothing on it for me, and there hasn't been for like quite a while.
Oh, man.
So if we could close that, that would be great.
It is closed.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for Zena for letting us know that was messing with your headache. Okay, so we've got through all that. I know we had the suggestion of adding the review of practices and policies on, you know, a rotating basis as one of the examples for number 6. Is there any other feedback on the examples? Or is everyone good with the examples?
I guess just if we do want to review or like revise any of the tribal government relations stuff, with respect to, you know, sovereign nation relations. I'm not an expert on that, but that was just the only other thing that the committee discussed.
Zena?
So I'm not trying to say that the city of Philomath needs to like form some kind of liaison. I'm simply saying that we need to reach out and collaborate with more people. And you know, that again can be on a one-on-one basis, or just again, I think just letting them know that we're here, we want to connect, and we're working on making things better. I think that that's important.
Jessica?
I just wanted to read what the language is for the regarding liaison stuff with the tribes. So the language is consider tribal involvement in the Inclusivity Committee and or recommending the City Council invite the tribal nations to work with the city to create tribal/city governance liaisons. So we can totally strike it, or we can leave it with the whole considering and the and or, because that was what I had intended, was just like, maybe this is something this is a thing to talk about. But if people aren't comfortable even with that, we can totally scratch that.
Zena and then Maeve.
Oh, so yeah, I think it's important. I mean, they gave us their flag, and that's like, that shows that there is an opening there to have more of a conversation. So again, I think that it's important that we all do our own work and you know, collaborate with whoever we can. But I think that also shows that there is more to this than just, you know, me going out and you know, connecting, or any one of us, because again, there has been this amazing gift that they've given us. So.
Maeve?
Yeah, would we be able to just like remove the liaison stuff and keep like the collaboration with the tribes and all of that stuff?
I think that makes sense. I see Teresa and Zena nodding. We've got that point B about building and strengthening the city's relationship with tribal nations who were forcibly removed from this land now called Philomath.
So I think if we have a working relationship and a dialogue with the tribe and they want a liaison, like I trust them to tell us that.
I think that makes sense, is something that would grow out of those conversations and collaborations.
So then scratch that lowercase b. Is that what's suggesting? I know Christopher has something to say as well, but is that what you're suggesting, Maeve? What I had just read was like the lowercase b within uppercase b.
Which lowercase b are you talking about?
What I had just read, the consider tribal involvement in the Inclusivity Committee and or recommending the City Council invite the tribal nations to work with the city to create tribal/city.
Where are you reading that from, though? I don't see which one that is, because I see like lots of lowercase b's.
Oh, sorry. A lowercase b of letter of uppercase b. I know. I probably should have had numbers. I was trying not to like say that this is more important than this one by using letters instead of numbers, and just made it more confusing.
We could just, oh, sorry, Maeve.
Oh, go ahead, Cindy.
I was just going to say we could just delete to create tribal city governance liaisons in there and just say invite the tribal nations to work with the city.
I think that also gets, as far as Chaz was talking about, we would never want to do anything that could be viewed in my workings as an educator with the tribes and educating my students. There's a sensitivity in having a tribal nation that if we don't ever want to demean that, and it could, that we have to be careful in our phrasing, that it doesn't come out as they are a lesser than we as a city. So I'm really careful on how we word this so that we don't have any sort of inadvertent hurt that it would, or insult that could come from this.
Christopher, did you have something on this point?
Yeah. So I guess two things. I would be in favor of just kind of scratching it and then starting with just a new type of language that's just something a little more broad, of like actively seek out opportunities for involvement with tribal. I don't know if we want to specify tribal governments or something, but just, I think, because even just the way it's phrased right now with consider tribal involvement in the Inclusivity Committee feels a little weird. Like there's no other governments represented on the Inclusivity Committee, so why would we have representatives of a tribal government on a city committee? I think the point of the Inclusivity Committee is more like individual lived experiences and the community, and it's not a place for government to government relations. So I think it would be great if we have folks who identify as Indigenous on the committee. That could be a great asset, but that's very different from the representative of a tribal government. We're all, citizens of Oregon here, I'm assuming. I don't know that for sure, but that doesn't mean we all represent, what Kate Brown wants all the time. They're two very different things, being a representative of a government versus sharing your experience and your identity. So I guess I would prefer to just kind of start from scratch on that point and just put something in of like that we don't know what the best relationship or way to reach out or whatever could be, but we are committed to exploring and doing everything we can to make that happen.
Thank you, Christopher. Zena and then Maeve. And just a heads up that we're closing in on 7 o'clock and we still have a couple more things to do. So let's do these two last comments and then make a decision about where we're going to go with this document. And then we've got a couple of announcements and we need to choose what we're going to talk about at the next meeting. So Zena and then Maeve.
I think that you could, because we did talk about how we would connect with underrepresented people in our community, and so that could fall under that if you guys are feeling uncomfortable.
Maeve?
Yeah, I wonder if I agree that we should probably think about getting rid of that section, because I do think that it does come off as unintentionally kind of condescending. Like we are extending this excellent opportunity to them, whereas it would be us benefiting more likely than not. So as a subsection, maybe this is the opportunity to talk about sending that letter and saying here we are offering our services in whatever capacity might be helpful and within our scope, obviously. And have that be our outreach. And if they want it, great. If there's something that we can do to help, great. And if not, then we're not kind of forcing the issue.
Am I seeing agreement on that point? Maeve's suggestion?
To clarify, are you saying to have that letter be that replace that section, or
yes,
just to strike? Okay, cool.
That way we keep like an action item in there and we're not just like removing without replacing.
Got it. Thank you. And I'll reach out to everyone to show what I have, and please correct anything that I have gotten it wrong.
Also,
Thank you.
it might be good to follow up with Mayor Jones just on any of this, since this is his full-time job, is literally being a tribal liaison. He is an resource that we might be able to learn from on some of this too.
Okay, so just to clarify, Jessica, you're gonna rework a new draft of this and then share it out with the rest of the group. And then we'll send any feedback to Jessica. And then Jessica, when will it get passed on to the city council, Teresa?
Well, the intent was for this next meeting, but I don't know. Do we feel comfortable submitting this knowing that it's a live document, or and plus also the inclusivity calendar, I guess, would did we agree that that's something we would put on here? Yeah. But yeah, I guess the thing we could either, and my guess is the two options we have would be just kind of submitting what we have, saying that like this is a living document, this is our first pass at it. We definitely did not get to all the things that we think we should or want to do, and then like we work on it a little bit each meeting or every other meeting or something, or we can just hold off and like revisit it at our next meeting. Does anyone have thoughts on those options?
I don't know if what is the inclusivity calendar? Is that a document we already have, or is that?
No, it's okay. It's something that Chaz had suggested a long time ago, and then Matt Lehman also brought it up, and just saying like, from what I understand, it could be something that could be inward and outward facing, of just like, this is when we're going to want proclamations to be reviewed by the committee, if that's what the council wants us to do. And like, this is a city celebration that's coming up based on this thing. I don't know. And then it could also be an educational thing. Sorry?
Before we run out of time, I was like, that's a really good transition point to bring Rose back. Tell us about.
Yeah, I've been texting her, and she said that she's trying to get in, but I think Chris has to let her in, and I asked her to try calling.
I have another meeting, so I'm gonna need to check it. Thank you for all, and I will look for that email from you, Jessica. And everyone have a good night.
That sounds good. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, so I say make the changes that you have today, Jessica, that we've talked about today, and then just turn this crap in, because no offense, turn this wonderful document that we've worked so hard on in, because they might have other feedback and we could work on it for, eons, like Zena said before. Maeve?
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but point of order, do we still have a quorum? Can we continue this meeting?
I mean, we can always continue the meeting. We just can't make decisions without a quorum.
Yeah, all of us are committee members except for Rose, who's on the phone now.
Okay. Just checking. Sorry about that.
Can you hear her?
Yes.
Okay, Rose. Oh, wait, hold on. Is that okay if Rose speaks now on this? Yeah. Go ahead, Rose.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
They're saying yes.
Okay, cool, because I can't hear anyone. Basically, coming off of April's meeting, I am organizing a Pride event for June 4th. It's going to be at Philomath City Park at shelter number 2. I have flyers that I think I've already shared with Jessica so that she can get them to people who are interested. We're really asking for people to be thoughtful in how you promote the event. I am trying to look through the planning process through a trauma-informed lens. And while I haven't received any kind of negativity or direct threats to the event, I have heard feedback from people close to me that there are concerns for safety, and I want to keep that in mind. And so I would ask anyone who is going to try and help promote the event to keep that in mind about how you do that. Essentially what we're looking at is a gathering of community members. I'm planning on having lawn games, some prepackaged snacks, trying to make things COVID friendly, and working with Zena to try and put together some art projects, and just making everything rainbowy and colorful and community centered. I have quite a few volunteer needs that are still needing to be fulfilled. So if anyone is interested, I've set up a Gmail account for the event. It is philomathpride@gmail.com. No space or period between the two words. And then there's also an Amazon wish list going up that has supply needs. And if you're not interested in supporting Jeff Bezos and you can find the items locally, definitely feel free to purchase and either drop off at my place in Philomath or at the event. Or just let me know that it's been taken care of.
And how do we get to the wish list?
Christopher wants to know how to get to the wish list.
Jessica, do you have the wish list? Could you share that with him?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I would say
And the
for
wish list gives my address. It just says Philomath, Oregon. It doesn't give the exact street address. And it also removes items from the list once they're purchased, which is nice so that it's up to date.
Sweet. 1 second. Maeve, were you going to?
yeah, I just wanted to say, if you're looking for the wish list or volunteer information or anything like that, like definitely email that philomathpride@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions for Rose? Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
Rose.
Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
Facebook or email me. Let me know if you want to get engaged, and hope to see you there.
Awesome. I'm really excited about that. So any other announcements?
Christopher, Maggie says hello. Do you know Maggie?
Wait, sorry, I shrunk my screen.
Oh, I said Maggie says hi.
Maggie, who?
Anyways, never mind.
Rose says to have a
group, I guess.
Rose says to have a good night, and she's sorry she couldn't be here.
Bye.
Aw. Just real quick, potential topics for next meeting. Jessica and I talked about it might be nice to have a review of how Pride went at the next meeting, and be able to learn from that experience. So if we can, invite Rose, Rose is always welcome, but invite Rose to share with us, and any others who got to participate, share with us how that went. And then we also thought about the inclusivity calendar is a potential topic of discussion for next time. Are there any other things we want to put on our agenda for our June meeting?
I know that we are gonna, this event will be, June 4th? So, I'm not saying that it will interfere with Juneteenth, but I thought maybe it's something we could talk about.
So talk about Juneteenth at the next meeting as well?
Yeah.
Sounds like a great idea. Any other topics of discussion for the next meeting? All right. Seeing none, then I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Oh, Jessica?
Sorry, I missed it. I might have been speaking with Rose at the time. Did someone volunteer to co-chair for next meeting?
Oh, I forgot about that. Volunteer for co-chair for our next meeting.
I got it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, Maeve. All right. Was anybody else interested that might want to be on deck for the July meeting? I didn't know if anybody was about to make a move. All right. Then I'm going to smack my imaginary gavel on my desk and say this meeting is adjourned. Have a lovely rest of May, and yeah. See you all
Thank
at
you all so
Pride.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.